Hi, I'm John DeVore. Welcome to the channel. Today is kind of exciting. It is going to be part one of three of another of my conversations with people that I like in the hi-fi industry. And this one is going to be with my friend Michael Lavorgna. Part one, we're going to talk a little bit about his history in hi-fi, how he got started. We're going to talk about some of the gear that he's owned through the years. Part two will go into his connection in the art world. He went to art school, and in my opinion, it's his connection to art and the way that he brings that into his writing and even writes articles on art that have nothing really to do with hi-fi, gives him a really sort of a unique and excellent, important voice in the industry. So part two talks about that a little bit. And then part three talks about his history in the hi-fi industry and the various places he's written and that kind of an evolution. So I hope you enjoy it. Here is part one. Thanks. So today I am in New Jersey with a good friend of mine, Michael Lavorgna.
Welcome to the barn.
Thank you very much. It's a very welcoming barn, actually. I've known Michael a long time. And I thought when I decided to start doing interviews with people that I knew and liked in the industry, he was the first name to pop up.
What can I tell you?
So the first thing that I asked Ken McAuliffe was about how they got into hi-fi.
Oh, okay.
Were they an audiophile from birth? Was it forced upon them?
Yeah, so when I came out of the womb, the doctor slapped me with an interconnect.
Exactly. And you were like, that was the wrong one. I don't like that one.
That didn't sound right.
That was not silver.
Oh, my father was an audiophile.
Yes.
So from birth, I was in that world of gear / music passion, if you will. He was an engineer, so he was a little downplayed on the outward display of passion.
Yeah.
Except in those cases where something new would arrive and he would play, some favorite piece of music, those occasions he would get visibly excited,
Really?
hearing, things that maybe he hadn't heard, before.
So real
so
audiophile, like real audiophile happiness,
Yes.
that's satisfying for me too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what what I get excited about to this day.
Right.
But I have to say, for him, it was always, and he would talk to me about this as we were listening. From when I was a little kid, it was always about the what he was hearing in the music and why that was important. And
Even though he was an engineer, that's good.
he was
cool.
he was an unusual engineer because he really wanted to go to school and study theater.
I didn't know that, really.
But he was the first in the family to go to college.
So he had to go to a real school. He had to do something practical.
Well, yeah. When I announced that I wanted to go to art school, I was told that I had to go to a real school first. Yeah. So my father's theater hopes were dashed. And he was very good in math and things. And yeah, he was an audiophile, and he indoctrinated.
Did you listen with him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, so engineer, although with that theater interest, but he worked as an engineer his entire life.
Right.
And I was this fine art interest. He, as he got older, he had a subscription to Stereophile, and I had mine to Listener.
Really?
Right. So
I love that.
Yeah, so we kind of were running these sort of parallel
That's like
courses.
New York Times to Wall Street Journal. I love that.
Yeah, but we would come to, we could meet at hi-fi and music. Even though, my musical choices early on weren't exactly to his taste. Well, actually, his musical, when, by the time I was in the picture, was old enough to be aware of what music he was listening to. He was, it was mostly cool jazz.
Okay.
And Frank Sinatra. Like Frank Sinatra was
you mentioned that.
his Bruce Springsteen.
Right. Cool jazz. Also, there was a guitarist too, and
Johnny Smith.
Johnny Smith, right? Yeah.
Mr. Smooth.
Smooth ass Smith.
Never bent a string in his life.
So, did you have your own separate hi-fi in the house, like when you were living in that house?
In my bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like early, like you got one as soon as you could.
I did. And I don't know if I've ever shared this because it's so embarrassing.
Excellent.
So where
It's just between you and me.
yeah, no one's listening. Yeah. So where I grew up, the town where I grew up, there was a little industrial area, and one of the factories was York's Electronics,
Yes.
and they would have outlet sales a few times
Oh,
a
so
year.
you're bypassing the department stores.
Yes.
That was like the department store brand, right? So you bypassed the department store markup.
Yeah, and with my, gosh, whatever, doesn't matter what I was doing. And this was before high school. I had saved up money, and my father took me over to the York's outlet sale, and I bought a little York's system. I don't remember anything about models, really. It was just York's.
Irrelevant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah, with a little record player.
Anyone around our age obviously will know York's. I mean, that was a big brand.
Yeah.
I think every department store had it. If they didn't have their own branded brand, it would be a York's.
Right.
Yeah.
So I lived with that for a number of years, and then the way I recall was the turntable stopped working.
Right.
And by this time, I think I'm very, as you know, I'm very bad at dates. So I'll just ballpark everything. I think
You can just string them together like beads. I don't need the specifics. Just,
I was a little older, and I had saved up a little more money, landscaping money. And so when I needed a new turntable, I went to a hi-fi store
Right.
that sold used equipment. And I bought a used Bang & Olufsen turntable. And the salesman, I said, I need a turntable. And as I was looking at different things, he said, oh, so what else do you have? And I said, York's. And he said, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Really? What a dick. Oh my God, that's amazing.
He said, my father, of course, was with me. I wasn't old enough to drive. And my father, really laughed out loud at that one. Yeah, so.
What gear did your dad have?
Oh, it's so hard. One thing
What stands out?
Yeah, well, early on, like the components I remember, I mean, he was a fan of Bob Carver, specifically the Carver tuners.
Right.
That's and he.
I believe they had Schott's noise reduction circuits.
Yeah, I do remember these things to an extent, but he was, he respected his engineering prowess.
Right.
Let's say.
So did Bob Carver himself.
Yes, and not shy about telling you. I mean, when he got to a point where he had some more serious disposable income, he bought the first B&W 801s.
Oh, wow, okay.
That, had this.
Yeah, the original little droids. Yeah, the robot snowmen.
The first Wadia CD player, that was a separate, the drive was connected to, I guess, the DAC with, had to be.
AT&T, the fiber up.
With fiber.
Yeah.
And so my father.
Those were great. I loved the Wadias back then. Yeah.
My father had a business, and at that time, doing a lot of cable manufacturing, including terminating everything you can imagine in the area of telecommunications, but the fiber. And when he saw the included fiber cable, he's like, bah, this is no good. And he made his own fiber.
I'm sure it was better. He probably polished it or whatever.
Oh yeah, you
got to polish the ends, grind the ends.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember that. But that system, Mark Levinson amp and Pre, I don't recall the models, but that was the first system I remember that he had a room for it.
Right.
He had gotten to where he had a room for it.
I mean, those are all flagship high-end pieces. So, and this is what, 80s?
Yeah. Yep. And then,
And at that point, you probably had much better gear, too.
Well, see, it depends on the exact year, because when I was in college, so that's up.
Did you bring your Yorks to college?
I had moved on, thankfully. By the 80s, I had moved on. After high school, I moved on from Yorks, and I still had the B&O turntable. I'm going to have a hard time remembering the system I brought to college, because I really didn't use it. I had a portable cassette deck that I kept in my painting studio This is
Right.
I'm talking about Bennington days when I'd gone
Right.
away to college. I spent most nights up late in my painting studio listening
to
to
tapes or radio.
3 cassettes.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, maybe 4. It was Sonny Rollins' Freedom Suite,
Nice.
Hank Williams' Greatest Hits,
Uh-huh.
um, Einstein's and Neubauten, which it was one of the earlier ones, and then Patsy Cline.
Wow.
But I wore out that the Sonny Rollins. I could, it's like it's in my. I could
Freedom
almost.
Suite. That's excellent. Very good.
Yeah, it's one of the records that I still have. Yeah, it wasn't until after college that I really got seriously into buying my own hi-fis.
Right. What normal? Yeah.
Yeah, when I had my own place to live and things. Yeah.
Right. So I know you had one of the early Nelson Pass Threshold Class A amps.
The SA 3.0.
3.9.
Yeah, 3.9.
3.9E.
With the FET 10
Line stage. Yeah. Sweet stuff. I remember that. I sold that stuff actually when I worked at Stereo Exchange.
Well, I bought it at Stereo Exchange.
Yeah.
That's where I bought that. And I had a Cal CD player.
Right, like an Aria or something, or a
I owned
Tercet or
a
something.
few of them. I had the Icon and I had
The
the cassette.
Icon, yeah.
And then I also had, for a brief period, the separates, the Alpha Delta.
Alpha Delta, yeah. Which I still have somewhere in my shelves.
Yeah, I have the Alpha Delta. That system I bought from a dealer in Summit, New Jersey. That I think is still there, called Audio Nexus.
I think they're still there, yes.
Yeah, and so that system I remember that it was the Cal Alpha Delta, the Melos SHA Golds.
I remember that. It
Yeah.
started out as a headphone amp, and then everyone loved it as a line stage.
Yeah, the Sim Audio Celeste 3040 or something like that. Amp, it was like
The
lozenge
round
shape.
edges, yeah. Yep.
And the first von Schweikert VR3s.
And were you reviewing yet at that point?
No. I'm trying to think of the system I had when I started reviewing. The system I had when I started writing for 6 Moons, so this
Right.
is 2005.
Right.
I think by that time I had Shindo.
So you had that before you started reviewing.
I think so.
And you had like
Yeah.
a Sun Audio amp or something before the Shindo.
Oh yeah.
You had a Sun Audio and a...
Kane Abbeys.
That's what it was.
I had
yeah,
Kane
all right.
Abbeys.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, the original Kane
The Abbeys, yeah. That was the one that was the great speaker that Kane and Kate made.
Yeah.
It was a huge hit. I mean, that was a really impressive and simple design.
It was, and so yeah, I had the Sun Audio 300B amp,
Right.
which I loved. I wish I still had it. And that was the system I started to review with, because early on I was asked to review the Murata Super Tweeter,
Right.
which is a beautiful thing.
Right.
I mean, I could almost live with it just as a thing on the shelf.
Right.
It was so beautifully made. And then it was suggested, well, you've got the Super Tweeter, why don't you try the Kane subwoofer? And when I got this all together, I looked at it and I was like, what am I doing? I'm trying to build like a 3-way out of a
one
single-
way. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
It was kind of silly, but
Yeah. And then you got another one way. You got the Solovox after that.
yeah, I did. Yeah. And also, right around this time, I got the Super 8s.
Right. But I think you had Solovox first, I think.
Yeah, I think I did. I think I did.
Right. And I think you got the Super 8 so that you had a normal speaker to review other things on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've owned a lot of gear. I've
Reviewing
never,
is hard work.
yes, somebody's got to do it.
Yes.
One more thing I wouldn't mind touching on,
Yeah.
and that is, so my father, over time, the system I mentioned, he had that while he was still living in New Jersey. Then he retired to Florida, and then he got more serious and kind of, he's still stuck
More
with,
serious than the B&W Levinson Wadia stuff. Okay.
yeah, he went through, he basically, the first thing he did was I don't recall models, but he went to Levinson monoblocks, just kind of like,
Up the tiers.
and it got to the point where he had invested so much into this system, he wasn't listening to music nearly as much as he used to. And He went to his local dealer one day. This is in Florida, and he heard a pair of Odeon speakers. These are the German, right? They're I think they're from Germany.
The horn ones.
The horn ones.
Right.
And he fell in love with these little floor standers called the double six, that 2 6-inch drivers and that beautiful wooden horn on the tweeter.
Right.
And he called me because he was so excited about this system. And so he got rid of everything and replaced it with Odeon double sixes, the first acoustic masterpiece integrated amp.
Oh, by
Airtight.
Airtight, right?
Yeah.
It was the Airtight's affordable integrated amp. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
It really was. Yeah. And a BAT CD player.
Wow.
So very much scaled down, but he was he was dancing.
He was
again.
juiced again.
Totally. So I ended up getting those speakers, the Odeon double sixes, because he was like so amped up about them.
Right.
I was like, well, I've got to hear these.
Right.
So I had those for a while. Anyway.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I guess I knew. Yeah. So he sort of had a change of a change of heart at the end there.
At the end, yes, he did. Yep. Back to his roots, really.
Right.
Because he was always, before I was born, he was building tube kit amps and things. So.
Right. I was always envious of that generation of audiophile where you could buy a Dyna kit or a Heath kit and assemble it, and there was this real kind of nuts and bolts ability and knowledge built into being an audiophile. Obviously not for everyone, but it was easily accessible. I think it was cool.
Yeah, and he had a few of his engineer friends from work were also into it.
Right.
So they would go to each other's homes, listen to the hi-fi.
Right. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of my conversation with Michael Lavorgna. Thanks for watching, and I will see you at the next video, part 2. Thanks. Bye.